So Alireza won the title Tuesday yesterday on the 7th of March, beating out very strong competition such as Hikaru, Magnus, and I was flicking through the games that he played and this one caught my eye. So he was playing Awonder Liang, a very strong junior player, and he beats him in 17 moves. And when I see these kind of crushes, it just makes me wonder, like, how are they beating such strong Grandmasters in such a small amount of time? And it's where guys like Alireza, Magnus, Hikaru, they're just in this different league. Anyway, let's see what happened. So d4 played, knight f6, c4, e6 on the board, all very normal, but now Alireza goes pawn a3. Now we've seen a couple of the guys dabbling with this. Hikaru, Magnus, it's nothing special of course, but it takes people out of their book. Now d5 was played, and now e3, and I'm highlighting these dark squared pawns because it's so anti-positional. You know, all these pawns on dark squares already, this bishop on c1 now looks miserable, and already black has equalized. But okay, it's blitz, you know, anything can happen. So c5 now played. Alireza takes on d5, the pawn recaptures, we now see these knights developing, all four knights on the board, and the bishop hops out, pins this knight here, and Alireza breaks that one with bishop to e2. And now Awonder just goes slightly wrong here. When you're running with the engine, it just wants to take on d4 immediately. Now, although after white recaptures, it opens the bishop to develop like this, at least now the pawn structure is symmetrical. It's not black landed with an isolated pawn for white to attack. But coming back to the game, what we see is bishop d6 played immediately. But now Alireza can capture on c5. After the bishop recaptures, we get castles inserted, and then he can push on with b4. So he picks up this tempo, he finally gets to develop this bishop, and now he's got some very harmonious plans to just play against that d-pawn. And this is where Awonder now goes wrong. So he immediately tries to liquidate that pawn. But what he should do if he wants to get rid of it is first chop this knight. After bishop recaptures, you can then kick on, liquidate the pawn. Now this is a sample line of white capturing. You could get something like this. White is still a little for choice, but there's not too much in it. But coming back here, Awonder plays d4 immediately, but this runs into a basic tactic. Can you guess what Alireza played in this position? So the move to play is the simple knight takes on d4, and the problem is you now open up this battery of queen and bishop. You're threatening to win a piece, and if you try and take here to deal with that threat, well then this knight can recapture and white's a clean pawn up, or you can even take with this knight, open the bishop to support here and here, again a clean pawn up. So you can't take on e2. Awonder tries taking on d4, but now Alireza captures here, and like mentioned, he's a pawn up and he's got this amazing initiative, because after knight takes on g4, the queen now springs out, this knight retreats, and here's a killer blow. So Alireza wants to open up this bishop, threaten mate. What's the best knight jump to do it? Well, knight to d5 is the most aggressive. You can't capture that knight with the queen because of the mate threat. So f6 was played, blocking the threat, and after rook a to d1, here we had resignation already after 17 moves. Why? Well, the problem is this rook's lined up against the queen, and the queen also wants to stay with the f6 pawn to add defense there. So you'd like to go to e7, but the knight covers that square, of course. So say you step off the e file like this, well then we can crash through, we give the check, you're forced to give an exchange as black, plus now you're 2 pawns ahead, not just 1 pawn ahead. All very hopeless. If you come to c8 trying to get the queens off, well then we can capture, rook recaptures, and now push on with b5. Idea being, force this knight to move, and then you can land this check from e7, the knight no longer covers, and again you're picking up an exchange. So brutal stuff. This was the final position. I hope you enjoyed. Do hit that like if you did. Subscribe to never miss a future video, and if you want to see another amazing Alireza game, then check out the video on screen. Thanks very much for watching, and see you soon.